like Sesame Street. We're taught from a very young age, one of these things is not like the others. Hey guys, my name is Corey. Welcome to AuDHD Act 2. Quick question. How many of you have ever been told that you're cold or emotionless or a robot or broken or damaged or any of the other things indicating that you somehow lack human emotion? I mean, you're just not human enough. Yeah, I certainly have. So today we're going to kind of dive into that, into why people think that, why that misconception is so widespread. So the number one thing that I think contributes to this for a lot of people is just missing social cues. We don't necessarily always laugh when everybody else laughs, or we may laugh at the wrong time when no one else is laughing. And these missed social cues, people start to just kind of cup their head a little bit and they're like, what is going on with that person? And so there's a lot of misunderstanding right off the bat from just the social cues. When you add in the delayed processing, it just gets so much more impactful. With delayed processing, a lot of times what happens is you'll be at home, and this could be hours later, this could even really be days or weeks later, but you'll suddenly realize, oh, that's what they meant, or oh, that's what they were laughing at, or I can't believe I laughed at that. And it kind of hits you then when we don't react in the moment in the same way that neurotypical people do, or that the crowd does, and we're reacting in a different way. It can often draw attention. We may not even know that people notice, but people tend to notice when people act differently, when they pick it's like Sesame Street. We're taught from a very young age, one of these things is not like the others. Yeah, that's kind of like, that should be the name of my book. But missing those social cues and then realizing later what you've missed is kind of a standard experience, I would say, for neurodivergent people. I think for the majority of us, have had some form of that. So what is really happening? What's really going on inside the autistic mind that makes everybody else think we're just emotionless, heartless, cold, robotic machines? Well, one of the recurring themes with neurodivergent people, especially throughout childhood, is a lot of rejection. And again, this kind of goes back to that same thing. You're not reacting the same way the crowd's reacting. People spot that one of these things is not like the others. Very early, often at a very young age, a lot of us experience rejection, and it really takes root in regards to, like, it's kind of always on the forefront. Like, a lot of us are always mindful of what we might do that might make people reject us, or that might make people treat us differently, or it might make them just notice us from the crowd versus everyone else. So we're all we try to mask, we try to do the things that make us fit in. But in reality, all that really does is reinforce the thought inside our minds that we don't fit in, and it just reminds us that we are different. So you take that experience, you take that childhood experience that's so widespread across the people on the spectrum, and you add in the highly empathetic nature of a lot of people on the spectrum. Again, this is for my experience. This isn't every person's experience. Every autistic person's different. Every neurodivergent person is different. But a lot of times, for empathy is a very common thing for people on the spectrum. Part of that is because we're always looking for social cues. And so a lot of times we'll recognize when people are upset, or we'll recognize that people are getting bullied, and we'll empathize with them. We'll put ourselves in their shoes, and we'll do things to try to stop that from happening, or we'll at least feel their pain. Even if we don't interfere, we'll feel what they're feeling, and or as best you can without being inside another person's mind. So that's why we tend to hyper-focus on right and wrong, on morality, on doing the right thing. Because I would say the majority of the people that I've spoken with that feel the same way as I do, neurodivergent people, it's kind of like the golden rule is just like ground into your soul. Like, treat others the way you want to be treated. And I think that's common with people who had tough childhoods, or who had experienced a lot of rejection or bullying, or just masking their entire lives, knowing that, or at least believing that who they really are isn't going to be accepted. So when we see people experiencing something similar, not being accepted, being rejected, a lot of time our empathy goes through the roof, and we feel that deeply. So along these lines, there's a philosopher, Immanuel Kant, who could lead this school of thought called deontology. And deontology is basically saying that there is a categorical imperative for you to do the right thing. That no matter what the situation, No matter what the consequence, you should always do the thing that is right. And this rings true for a lot of neurodivergent people because we have this bottom-up process. We see all of these things differently than other people see them. And so we have to be able to apply our decision-making, our morality, who we are and how we portray that to the world. We've got to do that through everything, because otherwise you're creating friction. Along the same lines of why masking can be so damaging is because if you're not being who you truly are or what you truly believe in, then you're creating friction inside your mind and in your body throughout your nervous system. You're just creating this unnecessary friction because of not being you, just not being yourself. That's the number one cause of problems for people, stress for people, of depression. It is the failure to do the thing that makes them them. Just go be you. And a lot of these problems reduce immediately, but that's, of course, a lot easier said than done. There's more to it than that. But the AuDHD mind, autistic, ADHD, neurodivergent mind in general is naturally deontological, because through the bottom-up processing and our pattern recognition, we see things that other people maybe don't notice. We see the way things impact other people. We see that people are feeling a way. We notice that someone's upset, and we notice that they got upset after this happened. And a lot of this is because we do this with our own lives. Every time we get upset or we make somebody else irritated, we try to figure out if it was our fault. We are people pleasers by nature. Again, many of us are, not all of us, are people pleasers by nature. And so we want to do the right thing. We want people to be happy. We want to make people around us happy. And that makes us less likely overall, in general, again, generalisms here, less likely overall to treat people poorly and to take advantage of people and to lie to people, and much more likely to probably go beyond what is considered normal in order to make other people happy, in order to impress them. You know, like myself, I definitely have this kind of hero complex where all the time when I'm doing work, I want to be the guy that saves the day. I want to be the one that makes the project a success. I want to do amazing things and make people happy. Not because I want to be like in the front. I don't like being the center of attention. I like making other people happy. I like satisfying people and making sure that they know that I am doing the best I can for them. And I love the feeling when people recognize that and I get that recognition. And obviously there are healthy and unhealthy levels of that. And I've been in both places. I'm in a much healthier place now, but there was absolutely a time where I regularly just discarded all of my boundaries in order to make other people happy. I spent a lot of time working on being what other people needed me to be. And years later, recognizing and realizing that I needed people too, and I didn't get that. I didn't set those boundaries. I didn't set those expectations. I just kept giving to people to try to help, and it helped. But people want to connect with you, and one of the ways that you can connect more deeply with someone is letting people in, letting people help you get that bond with you by reciprocating, by giving you what you need. And the only way to really get to that point is clarity and open conversations and honesty. We're processing a ton of stuff. We feel more deeply than a lot of people, and I would say the majority of people. Again, that's a generalism, but I say that because we're forced to look at all of the things. We don't get to do subconscious processing of all the stuff in the background. We don't get to just like open our eyes and all of a sudden we take the pulse of the room. That's not a thing. We have to look at people's faces. We have to look at what they're doing. And they probably just see a blank face staring at them processing data. They don't understand that this is how we process emotion. And they don't understand that we're diving into the morality of this thing. We're kind of internalizing all of the things we're seeing because that's the only way to truly understand. You've got to try to feel what other people are feeling. And I truly believe that neurodivergent people tend to put more time observing and assessing other people. And that's a survival mechanism because that's how we know what's going on. I mean, to an extent, yes, a lot of us may be people pleasers like myself, but what it really is I need to know what's going on, and I need to know what people are thinking, or I'm not going to be able to fit in this situation. I'm not going to be able to integrate into this conversation or whatever else is going on here. And so I have to look at your face. I have to try to see what you're doing, see what your eyes are doing, see if your smile is different than your eyes. All of these different. So unfortunately, A large amount of the world does not have that deontology mindset, always do the right thing. Most of the world, I feel fairly safe in saying this, most of the world uses a more utilitarian mindset where they will do the thing that helps them achieve the goal that they want to achieve, regardless at times of whether it's right or wrong. So some people lie, some people steal, some people cheat, some people do all of these things and they justify it however they need to justify it. And we have to be aware of this as, people don't always tell the truth. You can't take everyone at face value. You have to understand that there are people who will deceive you. As these people are telling everybody what they need to hear or manipulating people in order to get the goals and the results that they want, you're telling the truth. You're being honest, sometimes too honest. Oftentimes, we will get ourselves in trouble because our boss will come up with an idea and we will tell them exactly why it won't work. And people want to be told, that's a great idea, but oh shoot, what about this? They want to be kind of handled softly, and a lot of times we just go straight for the facts. And that isn't always accepted well, and so we have to be aware of that. We have to adjust our plan as neurodivergent people to know that our level of truthiness is maybe a little higher than others. And I'm not trying to say that again as if we're like the angel on the shoulder and everybody else is the devil. That's not how it is. It is just that we tend to have our truth closer to the surface. We don't package it. We don't bend it into an acceptable form that makes people happy. We will tell you what it is, what the truth is. If you ask me a question and ask for my opinion, I'll generally tell you, no, I know enough, and I'm 43. I've been around enough to know that I can't just let out the floodgates and just let the words flow out and expect no consequences. Of course, people have to have tact. And you have to give people grace. You can't assume, a lot of times we'll instantly assume the worst thing. When someone has a stance or an opinion and it rubs us the wrong way, we'll instantly assume, how can you think that? We don't give people nearly enough grace and allow them to be them, because yes, we're neurodivergent and we have this mindset. That doesn't make them wrong because they don't have maybe that high intensity of morality or truthiness or however you want to look at it, but it is just something that we have to keep in mind and we have to recognize, because it's going to come up regularly. I already mentioned the example about the boss telling you, asking for your opinion, you give it to them and it backfires. So keep that in mind, especially when it's your boss or someone else that you rely on for income or whatever it may be. Another situation at work is a lot of times our teams will take credit for things. Like if things go well, we're all excited to take credit. But in reality, we may be resistant to take the credit personally because we may know that we didn't really impact it. And it may be a team victory, it may be a hollow thing, but we're often not only more likely to tell a very harsh truth, but we're also more likely to do that at ourselves. We will point that at ourselves as well and be like, oh, I didn't do that. That wasn't my win. That was so-and-so, but that, thank them and thanks for the recognition, but that wasn't me. We tend to do that a lot too. And that is something that neurotypical people do not do regularly. A lot of people, even if the credit isn't theirs, they're happy to accept it, or at least at a minimum, not correct you. Let me bring it back to this notion that we're cold and apathetic and robotic and all of this. So with all of these things we've just talked about, all of these emotional responses, all of the assessment and the analysis and the attention and focus we have to pay in social situations, the delayed processing, all of these things, they don't show up. You don't see it. It's all in our head. It's all in our mind. It's in who we are, but it's not in what I'm wearing. People don't realize what we're thinking. They just see a blank face because like a computer, and one of the reasons we get this analogy is because like a computer, we're a blank screen and just a big spinning wheel that's processing. And so that's all people see. But I want to make sure that you guys don't take this notion to heart as people treat you this way. Give yourself some grace today and realize that you've been holding yourself to a standard that not everybody holds themselves to. But at the same time, realize and recognize that you can't hold other people to that standard. It's not normal. You're you, but not everybody else is. You can't hold them to your standards, just like you're asking them not to try to hold you to theirs. So just to end this thing, you are not broken. You are absolutely right. You're doing the right thing. You just have to recognize that you're doing it in a way that is not normal. That is not the way everybody else does it. And that's okay. But it requires assessment and intentionality. But I'm going to cut it there. So give yourself some grace today. Thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe, all the things, and enjoy the day.